started. All right, how to use Instagram stories to market your business. So that's the topic we're going to cover today, and we're going to go through a few different things. So we're going to talk a little bit about the background of stories in case you're not super familiar with it. We're going to talk about defining your stories, and then also how to exactly plan out your stories, because even though they are for that kind of fun behind the scenes, kind of spontaneous posting, really good marketing requires you to plan ahead. And so while there's definitely space for that spontaneity and it's good and right, having a plan ensures that you're actually using it to the best of your ability. So we'll talk about that a little bit more at the end. All right, first up, let's talk about some background of stories. So this is a story I sent this morning. I'm actually curious. I haven't looked yet to see how many people said they were joining or not. So let's take a quick look. But that's one of the fun things that you can do with stories is you can host polls, you can write on the image, you can really engage with it, which is super fun. So that is always a great way to engage with your followers and even to understand them a little more. So if you're ever doing anything like customer research, I did this actually a couple weeks ago. I have this fun new idea rolling around in my brain. And so I posted about it on my stories and I got some really good feedback from people. So there's just some little things like that. But stories were introduced back in August of 2016, which feels like forever ago. And then it's basically just accounts can post photos or videos that vanish after 24 hours. So it's kind of like Snapchat in that sense. When it first came out, a lot of people equated it to Snapchat. And so this is really great if there's something that you want to share, but that doesn't necessarily kind of warrant space on your, constant and consistent feed. So I like to use stories a lot for promoting events that maybe aren't going to be around forever, or that I just want to, do a little shout out to. Things like mini sessions are a great way to remind people that they're happening. And so you can use that to just remind people what's going on, give them a little peek behind the scenes, things that maybe you find are important or good to share for your business, but don't necessarily need to be on your feed. So that's kind of where stories come in. They vanish after 24 hours. There are highlights, which is a session we'll talk about in the future in a couple of weeks, either next week or a couple of weeks from now, where you can take your stories and keep them on your profile, but not necessarily in your main feed. So it's not that they have to vanish in 24 hours, and you can always download them, which is really nice. So if you want to reshare them or repurpose them in any way, you can do that. And then just some interesting tidbits of information that there are more than 500 million Instagrammers using stories every day. So that shows that, one, people enjoy them, they engage with them, all that fun stuff, but also it means there's a lot of noise that you need to cut through. So that's where the planning piece that we're going to talk about towards the end of the session is really important, because you want to make sure that what you're sharing is worth people, to stop and actually look at. I'm sure if you used stories before, you're probably like me and you're just clicking through, but there's every once in a while something that'll really stop me in my tracks, and I'll be like, ooh, wait, what is this about? What are they talking about? What are they saying? So just something to kind of think through, a little bit of background on these. All right, so step one is to define your story's purpose. So just like everything else you're doing in marketing, the way that you can get the most out of your content is to give it a reason for existing. So give it a purpose, give it some type of value, and think about, or, basically ask the question, like, why should anyone care that I'm posting about this? Why should someone care that I'm posting about my coffee mug? Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's just something to make me happy, and that's a perfectly good reason. But to make the most out of your marketing for your business, maybe it's a connection point. You're going to say, I'm going to post about my coffee routine for a week because I love coffee. It's something that people know me for, and it's a great connection point with my customers or with people I want to work with. I want to work with other people who have the same coffee obsession as me, right? Maybe that's your purpose behind it. And that's totally valid. It doesn't have to be always sales driven. It could be, I want to engage with people. I want to connect with them. I want to share a little bit of me so that we can connect on that human level, right? Maybe it's providing some value to your audience in a quick training session. You can do a lot with stories. You can take a few seconds, like second clips, and like put them into a longer story. Or you can really create some really concise content of just like, okay, here's one quick tip about what you're going to do, right? So even just this slide, I could take this, make it into a story, and just have it be a few seconds of me talking about the importance of having a purpose for your stories. So things like that, thinking about how is this going to contribute to my business? How is this going to help me connect with my audience? Why should someone care that this is something I'm posting about? And then even just kind of like, what vibe are you going for? So maybe your feed is very serious and professional and like put together. And it really wouldn't make sense if you were like in your stories screaming and throwing a dance party, right? That kind of doesn't vibe the same way. But maybe in your stories, you can kind of unbutton a little bit, right? You can say, okay, I'm going to be a little bit more personable, or I'm going to show off our personality a little bit more and kind of create that fun vibe. Or maybe your feed's really fun and exciting and you want to use your stories to take some of that energy and direct it towards something new. So there's a million different things that you can do, and your stories can be videos, they can be pictures, they can be reels, they can be resharing content from your feed. So just constantly kind of be asking yourself the question, and this is a good question to ask yourself anytime you post something, but what's the purpose of this? Why is it important? What is this going to do to help me reach my goals? And it doesn't have to be major, right? It really can be, I'm going to post about my lunch today because I want to, remind people that I'm human and that I need to take a break and eat lunch, right? Little things. It doesn't have to be something major, but it is important to give them a purpose so you're not just willy-nilly posting things that don't actually have anything to do with your business or aren't going to help you in some way. Leave the fun, just, post for whatever reason for your personal page. That's a great place to do it, right? I can post about all of the funny things my dog does on my personal page, but maybe I only post about it once on my business page because it's not going to drive business the way I want it to. So just some things to think about, give your story some purpose and help that to really define what you're going to do with your stories. All right, step 2. Plan it out. So just like everything else, it's really important to plan out your content and just to give yourself even that awareness that this is something you want to do. Because if you're anything like me, it's really easy to create a plan, get excited about it, or even just be thinking about something and be like, okay, I'm going to post one story a day for 30 days straight. And then all of a sudden it's day 25 and you're like, I have not posted a single story because I'm so distracted by the other things that I'm doing, which could all be really great things, or maybe it's something different, who knows? But by planning it out, it gives you an opportunity to answer that first question, right? Of why is this important? What's the purpose of this story? But also to help you think about what you need to be able to create that story. So maybe you really want to, or better yet, I'll give like a real life example. So I'm currently going through this planning process, right, for my business. I have some goals that I want to reach with my clients and with my business and things like that. And so I want to be sharing more tips and tricks and hacks and things like that, really quick things that I can share with my audience that will require me to film myself, right? So I want to know what days I'm going to be filming myself so I can make sure that I look and feel my best, because I don't like posting videos where I look like a slob. That just does not make me feel good. Doesn't mean that, I can't, or that it would damage my business. But for me personally, and for my business and my brand, I like to look at least somewhat put together, right? So knowing that and being able to plan out those days and say, okay, on Wednesdays, I'm going to go and take a video of myself and share this tip. Whereas on Thursdays, maybe I will do something where I can just take a picture of something on my desk and ask a question. So being able to plan it out also helps with some of that logistical stuff, those practical things of, do I wash my hair that day? Or do I want to put on makeup? Or do I want to make sure my shirt is one that has been recently, laundered and looks nice and isn't wrinkly? Just thinking through those kinds of things, even thinking about the lighting. That can be really helpful and is really important in making sure that your content looks good. So are there, specific tools that you might need? Who knows? Just the randomest little things that you can really think about and plan ahead for, so that you don't wake up and think, oh my gosh, I wanted to show, I wanted to shoot this story today with these tips and this was going to be really great, but I look like a complete slob and I've got a coffee stain on my shirt, like those kinds of things. Again, not the end of the world. Post it with that coffee stain, do what you got to do, but being able to plan ahead is super, super helpful. So what I like to do personally is to just chunk it down into 2 weeks, right? So it's like 14 days. And let's say I wanted to post every other day just during weekdays, because that's when my audience is most active. And that's something I can reasonably create. I can go into my calendar and say, okay, on these days, I'm going to be posting a story, and I can even give it a time and say, okay, at 9 a.m., because I know I'm not going to do it if it's, if I get into everything else for my day at 9 a.m., I'm going to sit down, shoot this story, and put it up, and then check back in a couple hours. Give yourself that planning opportunity. And it feels like you're doing all this extra work, right? That could take 5 minutes to plan through. Be like, okay, I wanted to share this tip on this day. Here's what it is. Should take 30 seconds to explain. All those different things. And as you do this more often, you'll be able to do it more quickly and become more efficient at it. So just start with what is attainable for you, and then just let yourself get in the habit of that, right? So just like when I do these webinars, it used to take me hours to, prepare and to be ready and all these things. And I used to be like, okay, I've got to make sure I've got at least 15 minutes before 4:30, like at 4:15, I have to make sure I'm not doing anything else, all that kind of stuff. And now I can easily just say, okay, 4:20 rolls around, I open up everything I need, I'm prepared, I'm ready for you guys, and I'm here. And it's not that I've gotten lazy about it, right? It's that I've gotten much more efficient because I've gotten into this habit of creating this content for you every week. And so now I know what I have to do, and I've got this rhythm that I can go through. The same thing will happen with your stories. Right now, I'm not posting any stories because I'm just, blaring ahead with all the things I'm doing, and it hasn't been a priority, but I'm reprioritizing it. And I bet if you watch my Instagram over the next couple weeks, you'll see some sporadic stories. And then hopefully by the, middle towards end of June, I will actually be able to get onto that rhythm and into that schedule the way I want to. Right? So it's not perfect. It's not that you're going to wake up one day and be like, yes, I can post all the stories I want, and it's going to be perfect and exactly what I want. Great. If that happens, awesome. Most likely for most of us, that's not going to be the case. We're going to say, I'm going to post 3 times this week and it'll be great. And you just barely get 1 story out. Hey, that's awesome. Next week, try to get 2. Following week, 3. That's how you build it up. That's how you make this potentially overwhelming feeling much more tangible and easy to execute. So that's my little spiel about planning it out. Give yourself some time, be flexible, but definitely make sure that you're planning out what you want to create so that your stories are going to be valuable to your viewers. All right, this third step, I wanted to go through some categories here. Jumping ahead of myself. So if you need some help with planning what kind of content to create, these are the categories I like to go to. So educational, inspirational, entertaining, and promotional. So they don't have to be in that order and they don't all have to be covered, but thinking about, okay, what is valuable to your audience? Some days we want to be inspired. So maybe you have a great story about how you overcame an obstacle, or you can celebrate something great in your business. You can provide some kind of educational thing. So if you're going to provide tips or tricks or some insights into something in the news, maybe it's something entertaining. Maybe that's where my dog picture is going to be really great, is we all just want to see a dog being silly, right? That can be really entertaining and fun. And then promotional is where I can say, hey, come to the mini session on Thursday. This is what we're going to be talking about. So if you're not sure where to start, those are some really good categories to start with. Okay, now to the third step. Execution. So pick a time during the day and get your stories done. Give yourself that accountability factor of telling a friend, telling a colleague, telling someone, your roommate, your spouse, your partner, whoever it is. Pick a time during the day and then let them know, hey, I'm going to be posting this day or at this time on this day. Ask me at this time whether or not I did it. If that's something that could be really helpful to you, I say go for it. But at the end of the day, find a way for you to really execute on these plans. I'm the queen of making plans and not executing on them. I love a good plan. I love all those fun things. Just looking at the list is great. And then sometimes the execution comes around. I'm like, oh gosh, that's right. I have to do all these things. And for me, what's really great is to just plan it out and then say, okay, this is what I'm doing. And it's just one thing, right? It's just one story. It's not all your week. It's saying, okay, tomorrow, so tonight I'm going to wash my hair because I want it to be done, because I'm going to be posting tomorrow at 9 a.m. a story about X, Y, and Z. That's all you need to focus at that night and that morning. Then you can go and say, okay, 2 days from now, or whatever your cadence is going to be, focus on those little steps so that eventually you'll be getting to those bigger steps where you are posting multiple times a week or even multiple times a day, and really generating that opportunity to connect with your audience and make those moves to help you promote and boost your business. So that's a really big key piece of it that often we can forget because we're so caught up in the fun of planning and all the strategy pieces, is to actually execute. All right, so here's some tech that I also want to share that I think would be really helpful if you are looking for some extra support with these stories. So Canva Pro, I highly, highly recommend it. If you are not already on Canva and you are looking to find some great ways to create content, go for it. Do Canva and then just upgrade to the Canva Pro. 100% do it. I think it's like maybe $119 a year. So whatever that comes out to per month, like I literally use it every day. These presentations are made in Canva. Like I'm constantly using it and I'm better. My content is better off for it. They have some really, really great templates for stories. So if you wanted to create something, maybe you aren't a huge photographer or video fan, but you want to create something that's going to be engaging and beautiful that you can, really utilize. It's great. I could go on and on about Canva, and I will do a session in the future just about how to use Canva and all the fun things you can do with it. And they're constantly coming out with new things. So I highly recommend that. I'll have a link in the follow-up email as well for you to get that Pro set up. So feel free to check that out. Another option is later.com. And so this is a scheduling system. It's the only one I'm familiar with right now, who I believe still does auto publishing for stories. So if you know that creating stories live is not going to be your strong suit and having to upload them is just a struggle bus for you, check out Later. It's free, although I think don't quote me on it. Maybe you have to pay to be able to send your stories, but it's a really great tool and it's very cost effective. So if you're just exploring it or wanting to try out something new, check out Later. And then this third piece is a ring light, and I'm actually using it currently to make myself look a little bit nicer for the video, right? And so I really like this ring light. Right now it's like under $40 on Amazon, and it is, I think I've had it since like Christmas. I'm pretty sure my mother gave it to me for Christmas. Thanks, Mom. And so it is by far one of the best investments I've made, especially doing so many virtual things. It basically, what it does is it just makes you look nicer and it gives you some better lighting. So there's no extra shadows. It doesn't, give you anything weird. It just helps. So if you want to really create some content that, if you would feel more confident, or you just want to look a bit better on camera, go for it. I use them during Zoom meetings, everything. Anywho, I will also include a link to the Amazon, specific Amazon one in the follow-up. So definitely check that out. But those are 3 things that I use constantly to help just keep me up to date and moving along. So thought I'd share those with you. All right, now for the Q&A. Let's see, do we have a few questions? I see, Kristen, you raised your hand. I don't know how to make you live, so if you want to drop your question in the Q&A or chat box, that would be awesome. For whatever reason, I can't hear you whenever I try to pull someone on live. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but technology. Okay, let's see. We have a couple. Oh, the Facebook Business Suite can schedule stories as well, but it's a little glitchy, but it works. Thanks, Tammy. I did not know that. I don't use that system just because I found other ones that work for me, but definitely if you guys are looking for a free option or want to explore something within Facebook, their Business Suite can be really great. You also, Tammy's asking about background recommendation for video stories. So that's a great question. Some of it depends upon the content that you're creating and your branding. So for example, and also where you are, like what's easiest. So if you are someone who's really active and on the go and like kind of out and about, and that makes sense for your business and your brand, feel free to just like take a step outside your house or your office and use the natural background of the city or wherever you are to kind of create that background. Or if you have just like a blank wall or something like that, those are typically good. Essentially anything that's not going to be distracting from your content is what you want to focus on. This is not for anyone who can see me, and my background for Zoom is not my actual background, although I wish it was. But the reality of my background is a blank wall with an off-centered piece of artwork. So what I would actually do is probably go to the other side of my desk where there's this beautiful piece of art and set up my camera there so that I have artwork in the background. But I like to focus on things in the background that are beautiful and match my aesthetic as best as possible. Without being distracting. So if you have a desk or an office where maybe you have like a bookshelf behind you or something like that, that's really important. Definitely make sure to check your background before you do a video, because if you have any like trash or maybe some laundry that you don't want people to see, or anything that could just kind of look a little messy, be distracting, those kinds of things, I like to just double check that. My biggest fear is to have some type of laundry hanging in the background. And yes, I can change my artwork around. I just haven't gotten to it. So I do like to just kind of keep things up to date. But pretty much anything that looks nice and makes sense for your background is great. Awesome. Okay, we've got another question. I'm concerned about burning people out about seeing content about my one product. What would you say to combat that concern? That is a great question. So this is an anonymous attendee is the title. So if you want to share your name or your product, feel free. If you'd like to keep it anonymous, not a problem. But what I like to do, especially for products, is to show it in use and then also to explain or talk about a problem that you're solving. So maybe, or even giving tips that are like related to it. So for example, I'll just pick something kind of general. Like if you have a, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a bag or a backpack, instead of just saying, here's my great bag, here's my great backpack, talk about, how you thought about this specific design piece. Why do you have the zippers in this way? Or what solution are you providing? Like what problem are you solving? You could even talk about the process of you creating the bag. You could say, oh, I've been working on this bag for 1.5 years now. We launched it, this past month. And here are 3 things I learned about, running a product-based business. Little things like that, something that can be super helpful, maybe giving a story about why you started and what inspires you. Or just even things that like you enjoy. Like I'm obsessed with coffee and I can talk about it all day. I love to have it in photos with me. Don't ask me why. I just love it, right? So I could talk about my coffee routine. That has nothing to do with my business, but it could be a connection point with someone who might also love coffee. And so now we have an opportunity to have that conversation, or at the very least, they like me a little bit more because we both like coffee. So maybe there's something in your life or even within your business that you could share about. Maybe it's that you love this particular water bottle and you carry it around with you every day. And so you designed the water bottle like pocket on the side of the backpack to hold this very specific type of bottle, or you wanted it to be, versatile so that anybody's water bottle could fit in there. Little things like that can be really, really interesting to some people. So don't feel like you have to constantly be talking about your product or your business. You can talk about or share about yourself, share about your team. Share about any people who are partnering with you, especially if you are creating a product that's maybe manufactured somewhere else, or if you handcraft all the products, post a video about you creating them. There's a lot of different ways you can kind of create some very versatile content. So that is a great question, and definitely can use a little bit of creative, like we kind of have to get a little creative sometimes with those for sure. So awesome questions, guys. All right, let's see. Any other questions? Where'd my chat box go? There it is. I do love me some coffee. It is what I am known for. Awesome. Okay, cool. Well, if you guys have any other questions, I know we're about 3 minutes to 5, so we'll just do a little bit of wrap up here. As always, you can reach out to me, if you want to talk a little bit more personally about your business. But next week, we're going to be talking about Instagram TV and how to create a series. So it'll kind of be similar to what we're going to talk about. We talked about today, but utilizing that longer form content. So it'll be really exciting. I'm jazzed about it. And it's definitely something I want to do more of for my business. Excuse me. And then as always, if you have any thoughts or anything that you want to learn more about or would like me to cover in a future session, please feel free to reply to the follow-up email with your ideas or, submit any information or topics that you'd want through that. So I will definitely love to hear from you and what you really want to know more about. Awesome. Okay, well, that is all I have for you guys today, and I hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful long weekend, and I will see you back here next week. Bye.